We'd like to thank you for being here tonight. Welcome to Special Collections and Archives here at Emporia State University. My name's Curtis. We are going to get started. We'll have open mic at the end to make sure that you've signed up and done the release forms, because they're going to be videoing, so we got to make sure that that paperwork's all taken care of. Also, if you would be interested in purchasing either my book, Kerry's book, or Kevin's book, they will be for sale afterward. We'll be set up to do credit debit cards and cash if you are so inclined. And there are some free chapbooks that Kevin brought, so you're welcome to stop by and look at those on the way out the door. So let's get started. Our first performer tonight is Kerry Moyer. Kerry is a community mental health case manager. He lives here in Emporia with his wife Sarah, who's a fourth grade teacher, and their two sons, Edward, who is now 13, and Miles, who's 9. Am I right, Kerry? Okay, I did the math. Excellent. Kerry and his wife are proud Emporia State University alums. He's also a member of the Kansas Authors Club, and he will serve as a state officer in 2020. He's going to be the manager of the statewide prose contest. So if you are into doing some prose, you can enter the contest. Kerry will be in charge of that. He's published 2 chapbooks. Let's start with that and These Boys. Dirt Road is his first book. It's a collection of poetry. It was published back in February. When he isn't writing, he's a member of a local cycling community, and he races in many gravel grinding events, including the Dirty Kansas. Master Moyer is also a martial artist. He holds the rank of master and is a 5th degree black belt in Taekwondo. Additionally, he is a 1st degree black belt in Hapkido. Did I say that right? He taught in martial arts for over a decade. A modern Renaissance man, Moyer is also a musician, painter, and leather worker. Let's hear it for Kerry Moyer.
Hello. So I got 15 minutes to read. So I'm going to start by reading some stuff from Dirt Road, and then I'm going to get into some of the new material for the next book that'll be out sometime in the next few months. Yeah, well, let's hold it. So, this one I'm going to read, it's called Mud Pies and Valentines. It's about my first best friend, which was this a little girl, lived down on the corner, and we used to play in the mud all the time, so I wrote this about her. Mud Pies and Valentines. Anna on the corner played in mud, meticulous builder of pies, mud and earth-shaped valentines, walking awkward and eyes rolling, unlaced shoestrings, patched blue jeans, at 7 strolling past. Mud pies and valentines, we played, shaping our dirty earthworm dough, muddy kiss on the cheek, mud caked on crossed nervous feet, kitchen behind the hedge, plastic bucket, plastic shovel, all the laughter 2 kids could hope to have while mud was still a friend. Okay, I need to raise this a bit, I think. That's better. Okay, so the next one I wrote about, when I was in high school, I worked on farms, doing field work or throwing hay and stuff, so I wrote a piece called Throwing Hay. At 16, I am strong, throwing alfalfa bales, stone grip on twine, and dusty rectangular stacks. God-awful heat pouring over everything, running sweat down into burning squinted eyes, dripping on dusty muscled arms. The barn, galvanized gray burning box, surrounding the rising stacks, built with strong youthful backs in our furnace. John was slow and looked tired. Bale is snatched from gloved hands. He is sent down to help feed the conveyor. The shakeman it shows on his face as he scrambles down to the waiting machine below. At 16, stacking hay, a farm boy's race, but for the occasional snake, or one cut in half that stops a reaching hand. Mice scurry from cracks, making sport for the calico barn cat. with her round crying kittens, fat from cow's cream, wandering around the barn floor below, not far from mother's care. We tilt red Coleman jugs, feeling the cold stream, then another bale to seat, until sundown when we climb down from the stacks and hear the call. Myron the dairy farmer hollers, "See you tomorrow, boys, when we will return to stack a few more bales." And too much stuff in my hands here. So this is called weeds. So I was thinking about how everybody hates weeds, right? Your parents hate weeds because they grow in the garden, they grow in the yard, but I think weeds are kind of cool because they're tough and they grow up in all the places where we don't want them to grow up. So, I was thinking about weeds and I wrote this. So it's called weeds. Free are weeds that grow among the grasses, hardy notched roots holding deep in fertile ground, or found splitting stone in rock-choked soil. Stubborn foliage found thriving where native flora dies, standing bold, defiant, cursed leaves and vines coming up between concrete cracks, discarded topsoil bags. Wild things making a home wherever rebel seeds fall, and water sent from bursting clouds will help them grow, while God smiles down upon his scorned creations. So this is called stuff. I was thinking about materialism, basically, and how we spend a whole lot of money on things that really don't mean much at the end of the day. So stuff. Throw all the stuff away from your thoughts and spaces. Throw the things away. Leave them in some hidden place where you can't find them. Stuff we accumulate that buries us in debt and sweat, chasing, caging us, all the plastic and metal, all the bling chattel, burn the damn debris. Bury the beautifully bound boxes that hold our fat red pumping hearts 6 feet deep in the clearance aisle. Run from the piles of things that would own you, crush you under a purchased pile of nothing. Thanks. Okay, so if I'm reading too fast, I'm sorry. I'm a little nervous for a reason I'm not really quite clear about right now. Death fiction. So I was thinking about how we treat death on social media. How, we just elevate everybody and everybody's mourning and there's a million posts about everybody and it really feels kind of phony, particularly when it comes to like celebrities and stuff. But it can be, somebody in town. Everybody seems to get elevated. So anyway, this is called death fiction. I read you had died. People writing a few words, posting prayers, stock sentiment, canned condolences, post-mortem pious purity, goodness gaining velocity with each pass of my pointer finger, moving over my glowing device, pictures plastered on pages, a parade of posts procuring sympathy, prayers and sanctification. Everyone dies better. My thoughts will go to you unprompted, pulled back to the small screen, notification ping and Pavlov wins again, collective mourning like dogs to a whistle, notifications noting your notoriety, until they stop at that last post period and all that momentum collides with our human nature and we move on. I didn't know you well enough to eulogize, so I plagiarize feeling so I can get my attention fixed on the back of death fiction on Facebook. So these are some new material for the new book. So I was at Rocky Ford Bridge watching the river swirl and whatnot, and I got to thinking about flooding. So I wrote this. It's called Rising. Brown water whips, whirls, spins while rising. Up rough, mossy bark, drowning ancient oaks. Muddy water moves, flows fast, foams under a stone-arched bridge. Sticks tumble, twist, gray clouds roll slow across a dark, brooding sky to bring more rain while people wait, pray the levee holds. Okay, so I like the Titanic. I've always been fascinated by the Titanic. And as a kid, they found the ship in the North Atlantic, and it was a big deal. National Geographic had a thing about it. So I've always had a thing about it. So I was thinking about that and I wrote this. It's called Unsinkable. Harlan and Wolf's Pride, the great boat, hit a chunk of ice. Now it lies still in cold northern waters. Broken teacups, bent metal, glitter barnacle encrusted floors walked by ghosts. The unsinkable White Star ship rests with Captain Smith deep in my thoughts when they drift in wonder. Okay, so I was thinking about the Dust Bowl. Okay, so when I was really little, my great-grandmother told me stories about the Dust Bowl, and I didn't know what she was talking about because I was 5, you know. She was talking about dirty, dusty rabbits and stuff. But anyway, I decided to write about it, and I thought that was the thing to do. So anyway, this is called Dust. When I was small, grandmother told of black blizzards that choked towns, fields, jackrabbit, locust plagues, killed farmers' crops. Grim folks with kerchief-covered faces coughed, shuttered windows, stuffed rags under doors, while brown powdered earth covered every floor. Prairie preachers prayed while day turned to night, and long-eared jackrabbits moved in darkness, covered in dust. Keep the timer here. So this next one, I'm making a secret. My dad was a practicing alcoholic, had trouble keeping work. He moved around a lot, and he stayed in some pretty interesting locales at times. So he stayed in this one place called Summit Apartments, and he had 3 friends, and they were all named Ron. So I have a quote called 3 Rons. The Sunrise Apartments, place for drunks with no money, 2 or 3 rooms, booze, dope were like numbers on the doors. Ron the roofer was kind, wore tar in his beard, had government cheese in a greasy fridge, smoked weed, drank cheap beer. His ribs broken by a 12-year-old on a bet Dad made that I couldn't hurt his friend. Ron the painter had painted clothes, a sad face, a white van that ran, rows of paint cans on either side of his door that was never open, no one ever coming or going. Ron the carpenter had a daughter, her name was Maria, and we hung out on a broken down car by the tracks. She was pretty and knew things. I was 2 years younger, tried to act older. We watched my dad beat 2 men for offering us beer. Little brother Danny ran to tell. Dad caught them at the tracks, hurt them real bad. After the fight, they walked back by with bloody faces, said they were sorry, but wouldn't look us in the eye. Okay, so this next one's a more recent one. It's weird. Okay, so I was shaving, and I'm a little ADHD, and my mind tends to wander around a lot, which is good and bad. But I was thinking about how long people have been shaving, how long guys, and then went to Romans, and I was talking about the Germanic tribes and the Greeks and beards, and so this is what came out of this. Anyway, here it goes. It's called stubble. The stubble on my neck, thick, coarse hair. I take rough hands, put white shaving cream there below my trimmed gray beard, shown in the bathroom mirror. Bring the razor, chin lifted high. 2,000 years, chins lifted high. Blades brought to thick forest whiskers, to stone chins. Chins reflected in ponds, lakes, in polished steel on polished blades. Roman men wore smooth chins, jaws like river rocks, so you could tell them from a Greek. Those thick ancient beards curled with tongs long before Alexander ordered men to shave. Father's white whiskers were thick, full, our name, Germanic, Visigoths, Ostrogoths, warlike nomadic tribes, wearing fierce virile beards. We fought river rock Romans in forests and fields across rivers, lakes, until that empire fell. Generations back, miles of stubble. Blades cut barbaric, savage looks from faces, chins, staring into mirrors, into ponds. 2,000 years, and here, in this glass, I gaze while the razor glides down my neck. steel, cutting away 3 days' growth, Germanic, Visigoth, Ostrogoth, the blade brought to bear this ritual, this passage, over 12,000 days ago. And because I'm wearing a bunch of cycling clothes, shirts, I'll read one thing that's about biking, because I guess I should. Okay, so this is called mile 62. This is about my first time, first dirty Kansas. Okay, so mile 62 in the heat. Hip flexors twitch, pedal stroke cramps, assault dusty legs, shock pain of it. I almost vomit. Just coast and wait for cramps to ease. 2 riders roll by, tip their covered heads, dusty sunglasses, glance my way. A rider asks if I'm okay. Words come out, I'm fine, thanks, and I'm so tired. But the words just keep pedaling come to mind again. So I pop an electrolyte tab, slam some Roctane, choke down a goo, sickening sweet paste, god-awful gel after God knows how many. Sugar mouth, chapped lips, left hand is buzzing numb, shooting pains in the toes, and the cramps are now twisting my calves, quads, my thoughts. I look up from the bars and the rollers, they just keep coming. Each long mile, each short movement, a painful deliberation. Cold rain comes on, chills in my teeth chatter. I'm off of the bike to walk a hill, any pedaling and I suffer. My legs won't work. A long-haired older guy offers me antacids. Another fellow on a salsa slings pickle juice, words that I almost heard that it happens. The gravel gods sprinkle magic gravel dust on dirty, tired legs, and I can pedal again. Road 20 is muddy, chunky, derailer breaking, flint rock, limestone steps, ruts, punchy, short, spirit-killing climbs, pedaling, praying, negotiating, earthen obstacles. I think, speak it aloud, please God, I can't break my bike. Around 30 miles from the Kansas chute, I clear a cloudy mind and remember, don't forget to eat, drink, don't want cramps again. Dirty, defeated guy off to the side, glassy-eyed off his bike, looks lost, listless. I tell myself, you're almost there. The hard part's over. It's downhill from here. He looks through me, mutters, then I'm back to my line. I just gotta keep pedaling. Words move through my head. We're gonna make it, then it's over. Road 20 is behind us, just a few more miles, just a few more miles. I'm smiling, a tired smile, thinking I'm gonna finish the dirty cans and all that came with it. And that's all. So, dropped a bunch of things, and dropped more things, and then get this. Okay, so next up is Curtis. He's a first-year writing teacher at Emporia State University. When not working with his students, he focuses on his own writing. Most recently, Becker's work appeared in the anthology Guards Against Hunger, 5th Anniversary Edition. His book, He Watched and Took Note, is a collection of poetry and short fiction that was published in August of 2018. Becker is also the owner of Curtis Becker Books and its imprint, Kellogg Press. He offers writing, editing, design, and publishing services. An active member of the Kansas Authors Club, Becker maintains the District 2 website and will serve as state officer in 2020 as a manager of the statewide poetry contest. Curtis Becker is a Hornet. He earned a Bachelor of Arts in English with a minor in creative writing from ESU before attending grad school out of state. As an undergraduate, Becker helped to create ESU's literary magazine, Flint Hills Review, and served on the editorial board on that inaugural edition. Welcome, Curtis Becker.
All right, and I thought it was really cool. I didn't know when we did the bios that they actually have the inaugural edition of Flint Hills Review. In that case right there, which is really cool, back from '96. We didn't quite know what we were doing back then, but I think it turned out pretty nice. Anyway, so I am a fiction and poetry guy. I was mostly did fiction when I was an undergraduate and even when I was in grad school. I haven't been doing poetry as long as some folks my book was a mixture of both. I did poetry and prose collection, and so I'm going to kind of go back and forth on both. I thought I'd start with a story that I wrote. I don't know if I've read this one before. I decided, as I was listening to Kerry, he was talking about the Dust Bowl, and I wrote a story. A couple of things were going on. Number one, I was teaching Grapes of Wrath at the time. I was teaching at a high school, and I was teaching in eastern Colorado, in one of the areas where the Dust Bowl took place. And so I would have my students do some research, and at that time there were even a lot of grandparents who were alive who could talk about their experiences. And we watched a video called The Black Blizzard, and it's a History Channel video. And there's a book that goes along with it called The Worst Hard Times. Anyway, so that kind of imprinted on my mind, and I was experimenting with writing a story in second person. And so I did a story called You Won't Give Up, the Dust Bowl on the High Plains. The hot wind bites your face as you cover it to protect it from the dust. Your other hand grasps your lifeline, the rope, strung from the barn to the house. Your hands, calloused by hard work and harder conditions, don't feel the fibers poke into skin as you feel your way in the blinding storm. Entering the house, you slam the door on the tormenting winds outside. This doesn't stop them or even quiet them. They howl as they circle and whip around the tiny structure you call a home. A quick inspection of the windows shows that the sheets your wife installed and sealed with a homemade paste are holding. She did this shortly before she left for her parents' house in Iowa. The lone chair in the center of the room is the most basic of chairs, but provides comfort to your weary body. You drop yourself onto it. The only other furniture in the room is a table in the corner. On it rests the only picture in the house. It's a family portrait. You are smiling and look robust in the picture. Your hand is on your beautiful wife's shoulders. You feel you'd forget what she looks like if not for the reminder. Your children, 2 boys and a little girl, are grouped around and in front of their mother. You miss them desperately, but with little Susie's dust lung, back east with the in-laws was the perfect place for your family. You won't give up. Your duty is to save the farm. How? The minutes seem like hours. You look at your pocket watch, a gift from your father. Hopefully, this duster will stop soon. There is a social at the church this evening. Just a skeleton group is left from the original congregation, but you aren't complaining about the less than fancy nature of the socials nowadays. Being social is about the only element left from the good times. Nobody brings food anymore, and there are very few families left. Many people have just abandoned their land and headed to California, the back east. You are determined to stay put. You won't give up. You can't give up. You hope the social will happen. This is your only opportunity to see other people in quite some time. You miss conversation and find that you talk to yourself sometimes, or the animals, what's left of them. It's not that you were crazy or anything, you were just exercising your vocal cords. The pocket watch tells you that you missed the church social, not that anyone else would have made it. The good reverend could have managed to come from the parsonage, but he wouldn't have tried. He would have known nobody else would make it. The fact that you missed out on this event is really a blow to your spirits. You need to talk to other people. The sky gets even darker, and somewhere beyond the monster cloud of dust, the sun sets. You sit in the dark. No need to waste a candle. And listen to the dust sandblast the side of the house. The wind blows. You begin to think it might be communicating. If you could just understand its song, maybe you could make it go away. You listen intently as it rages and bellows. You follow the crescendos of the wail. You listen to the eerie melody mesmerize you. You can't give up. Hold on. The black of night engulfs you as your mind finds an uneasy sleep. You awaken. The song has ended. Bright sunlight fills the room. You push the door open and make your way outside to survey the damage. A blizzard of sand-like dirt has blown and drifted to the yard. You grab a scoop shovel and clear the driveway, you clear the doorway and steps. You begin to work your way to the barn. You follow the rope, this time with your eyes. You're careful not to touch metal objects, including your truck. You know that dust storms can electrify these objects and send a grown man to the ground. You used to like to watch the static electricity arc in the blades of the windmill. This was before the storms got so regular and so intense. You think back to the last night and your brush with madness. How much longer can you take living in this forsaken place? Granted, it wasn't always a forsaken place. It was once a hardy land. Throwing seeds at the rich soil basically guaranteed a bumper crop. Those were the good years. What happened? Did this community do something to offend God? Why would He let all of you suffer like this? Your worst fears are confirmed when you reach the barn. What is left of the animals, what was left of the animals, a malnourished cow and an old goat didn't survive. Their lifeless shells were haphazardly deposited on the ground. In your haste to get to the house, you didn't secure the door and then wandered out into the storm. Their lungs were no doubt filled with dirt. Dusty paste matted in their eyes and fine silt clung to their hides. The remains would have been hard to look at, but these poor creatures were so malformed in life and in death that these corpses seemed surreal and grotesque, not sickening. Suffering for your animals has come to an end. You drop the shovel and go back in the house. Sitting back down on the chair, you realize you are now truly alone. You can't give up. You won't give up. It is always darkest before the dawn. You contemplate butchering the animals for what little meat is on their bones, but you have learned to ignore the pain of hunger and are a little too tired to deal with it. A little too tired to deal with any of it right now. Your mind begins to wander. You think of all the people you have known and loved in your life. You think of your excitement when you brought your family out to the high plains of western Kansas. You think of how you bragged to your extended family about how you were going to make it big as a farmer and a landowner. Nobody would want this land now. Don't give up. You walk out to your truck and gingerly touch the handle. No shock. You open the door and clean the dirt out as best you can. You go back in the house and gather the chair, the table, the picture. They're placed in your truck. A pile of clothes is on the passenger seat. At least you have company. Where are you going? You aren't giving up. I hear it's really green in Iowa this time of the year. All right, I'm going to do a couple of pieces of poetry here, some stuff from the book I'm working on, and then we'll turn it over to Kevin. That's fine. I don't need to do something. This piece is called Overheard. This is actually, I overheard bits and pieces of conversations, different conversations, and I just kind of broke them down, and they became this. Awkward silence, murmurs of discontent, fame, fleeting, faces hidden in shame by shadows, off your meds, scared of the world, and an intervention. Peace comes from death, you tell your friends. Losing your shit in the middle of the street, a hot mess, melting down before building up. A new beginning, cathartic, the rage escapes through tears and wails, an ugly cry. Life is now. I'm going to finish with one called Words. And before we got a little dictionary definition here, or definition of a dictionary, which is a book with the definitive meanings of words. But we're going to play with some of the other meanings of words. The poet stretches, bends, forms, controls, owns words. Words are born. Images swirl from the end of his pen to become words. Words on paper become a world of sight, sound, texture, light, color, emotion, more than words. Words live in no man's land between the trenches of literal and figurative. Connotations and denotations are hurled as words. Words make me cry silently because they can hurt more than sticks and stones. I took you at your word. I believed what you said. You hurt me with words. Words that meant everything to me and nothing to you. I am numb from the sight, sound, texture, light, color, emotion of words. Words that now mean nothing. All right, thank you everyone. I have the pleasure of introducing the Poet Laureate of Kansas from 2017 till the spring 2019. Kevin Rabas teaches here at Emporia State University, where he leads the poetry and playwriting tracks and chairs the Department of English, Modern Languages, and Journalism. He has 11 books, maybe 12 now, I've lost count, including Lisa's Flying Electric Piano, a Kansas notable book, and Nelson the Poetry Book Award winner. All that jazz, and Everyone Just Wants to Drum. Rabas's plays have been produced across Kansas and in North Carolina and San Diego, and his work has been nominated for the Pushcart Prize 6 times. He is a recipient of the Emporia State President's Award for Research and Creativity and is the winner of the Langston Hughes Award for Poetry, the Victor Konstocki Poetry Award, the Jerome Johane Playwriting Award, and the Salina New Voice Award. Please welcome Kevin Rabas.
Thanks, folks. Read a number of poems from my new book called Watch Your Head. This first one is called My Arms Open. My arms open, a harbor where the nets can hold water, where the fork can hold soup like the spoon. You hold the smell of night on you, secret scents of distant stars, fires which no incense can match, a light oil around your body, dark pond water, steeped between autumn leaves. I hold my heat for you in my heart, which would glow orange as an ember if you called. When I hold you, ask me what I desire, and I will say only what I can hold. Not quite as tall as the others. I'm going to read some newer ones from the book that haven't been read out yet. I was knocked down in this pickup basketball game in 1999, and I was having trouble doing a whole lot of things, but one thing I could do is write, and so I wrote about that time. And that first one was a love poem to Lisa, who I married after that time, and then I wrote a bunch about jazz because I went back to playing jazz during that time. And I studied with Chet Baker's drummer Art Frank, and this is a poem about Art, who was a bunch of things besides a drummer, but it ends with a jazzy thing at the end here. Your Bible is held together by gray duct tape, its pages highlighted and margins filled with pencil scratches. You studied the good book by flashlight, living in a car back east. You learned how to punch and how to receive a blow, a welterweight boxer, a drummer, a street preacher, until a woman found you and brought you back to this jazzy world of tortured melodies and cold, cold bridges in between. And the middle of a tune, a jazz tune, is the bridge. The beginning is the head or melody, and then there's the bridge, and it goes on. So that's the reference that's going on here. This is a really short one. Since we are in Kansas, you got to get a sunflower poem in. This one's Lost Days. When the sun falls behind these flint hills, the sunflowers bow, a seed spills to soil. I remember the lost days of my life. Now I was thinking about kind of growing up moments and how we start to lose our friends and we get interested in other things, like it talks about that in this poem. So this is kind of like a call back to one's old high school friend sort of thing. Sunset. My friends, if I could call you back, I would light the tiki torches and set up the volleyball net, but we are too old for that. We have moved on and are married and know our jobs better than our loves. We have joined at church and at work. We are no longer for the simple joys. A rose no longer strikes us, and the sunrise is never enough. Holding on so long. You know how men who sing the blues never give specifics. They just say, she done me wrong. I am the opposite. I tell you how we broke up and what things she left and what things she kept. I let you know what side I slept on, but I still don't stretch out. She done me wrong, I know it, but I done her wrong just as much, and we both hold on too long. Behind these doors, the words are opening up, blossoming with the abandon of fall flowers, which open only once, the twirl of a skirt before the freeze. Behind these doors I am writing odes, I am tasting the honey of memory, then writing. Do not let these moments go too quickly, dessert is still to come. And I got some poems that are in these little chapbooks over here. If it's handmade and held together with a staple, tonight it is free. So grab yourself one of those. The other books, which are held together by glue and other means, are $12 a piece. So this is the poem that I wrote and read for Governor Laura Kelly at her inauguration. And so as poet laureate, one of the things they can do is say, would you write us a poem? And I said, sure. Kansas Awakening. Walk the early green fields and run your fingers across the wheat's whiskers, and you will know this land is not ours, but we belong to these fields and this simple dirt. And when we shake hands, rough hands, smooth hands, we can feel that heat, blood run along the blue-green shoots of the heart. This land pulses with us. The city office towers with their yellow lights always on. The wind turbines pinwheeling to the breath of God. And the Main Street teens, music up, windows down, dragging that strip of blacktop in the night in a one-light town. And at dawn, the sidewalks full of noisy kids in backpacks with lunch sacks walking to the yellow buses that honk hope, and to the tough-shouldered grain elevator, its white pillars and ribs that flashes a lonely light but holds abundant golden grain. To all these and more we say welcome. You belong to this state like we do, somewhere in the middle, at the heart of a body awakening and coming into its own. And the group of people I work with get together at a lake house once a year to gather as the Department of English, Modern Languages, and Journalism. And there are these big catfish that hang out in that lake. And so this is a poem about feeding those huge catfish. Catfish with Mel. When the giant catfish come to the surface, they are mud-colored, their whiskers muscly. They rush and swirl, for the pellet's Mel drips into the water. Cat food for catfish. Leviathans from the lake, their ripples almost moving the dock, so we must adjust to stand and keep from falling in. Mel tells me one neighbor has a limousine pick him up Wednesday, takes him to the Wichita airport, flies him out to Maine to work with computers, and he comes back on Saturday, sits by the water with his laptop and watches the waves. Another flies out on a seaplane, lands in dark water weekends, taxis to his dock, watches the orange sun sink at Blue Heron Point. There is a price for this view, and when the catfish rise, some of the students from our department here from the picnic take out their cell phones and shoot what they see, pass the images into the ether, send fish shots home to Texas or San Diego, or one from Saudi Arabia catches me staring and waiting and watching the water and says, "You remind me of the Buddha, so calm, and all I can think to say is thank you." This is what I have always wanted, to sit and watch and later write. And if I can give you this, how we do this, I will. I think I may read one more and then we'll launch into the open mic. And this is one that kind of goes in the tradition of Walt Whitman, where the poet tells the reader, "I am here for you." And it's kind of it's a time-honored move. It's a move from long ago. This one's called For the Estranged. For the estranged, the ones the door shuts to with the wood and metal click. To the lonely, the ones who would be lovers, but their loves walked off with the pretty, the slick, the rich. To the ones with 5-string guitars who play and save for that snapped 6-string. For the drummers with beat-up drums who keep their heads tuned the best they can and play soft and wait for that crescendo and fill it with rain, with water, with blue fire, with a crowd of new hands, hands and wheat, hands and wheat, hands and wheat. To the ones you ignore but never ignore you, this poem of love is for the ones, the estranged. This poem full of my loneliness at night spent alone in the dark, new moon nights, coal-colored nights, nights where the owl calls for you. I hear you, I see you, I'll be with you when you open to this page. Yours will never be nights alone. My voice is here with you across time and space. And when you sing, I am here on rhythm guitar, on bass, on drums, on harpsichord and violin. All right, so we've got the sign-up sheet. It looks like Robbie Lane Kelly is up first. Let's give it up for Robbie Lane.
I'm definitely not as tall as everybody else.
How's that?
Perfect. Thank you. Alright, so my first poem is called Bright Side. Everything seems to be so extreme, trying to push me until I break. But I keep looking forward, trying to look up, because everything will be okay. I've been through this before, I can do it again. I just need to clear my head. Not everything is easy, no matter how we pray. But everything has a reason in a way. When we look to the night sky, we don't focus on the dark. We look to the stars that guide our way. This one doesn't have a title because I'm not good at titles. We wear rain boots when we expect the rain. We try to prepare, but you can't always know when the sky will fall. You can try to expect every part of a day. If you try to anticipate how the weather will change, you ruin your chances of finding the beauty in today. You don't allow yourself to be washed with relief. The rain can't clean your soul to bring you peace. The simple joy brought by running in the rain with your friends, laughing as you play. Rain is such a simple thing, expressed in so many exquisite ways. Every person can enjoy the patter from inside, wrapped in a blanket so warm. We're out soaking wet, face to the sky. So while I may wear my rain boots today, I wouldn't mind being caught in the rain.
Next is Max Calderon. Let's give it up for Max.
Howdy, my poem is called To Be Known and trigger warning for sexual assault. It was years ago, but I want you to know that to this day I can still feel her hands on my skin, still hear her voice. I want you to know that you do not have to blame the victim. They will do that themselves for the rest of their life. Why didn't you fight back? Why didn't you do something? Your blame cuts through me like bullets through wet paper. I have no answer for you because when I ask myself the same, I have no answer for me. I want you to know that when it happened, I had no control of my tongue, and that I ask myself to this day, why? I did not say no. Why I couldn't say no. Was it still rape if I couldn't say no? I want you to know my own self-doubt. I want you to know that it stays with you. Mud in the shape of handprints and mouths and tongues. Mud that no amount of cold showers will wash away. I want you to know. I want you to know. I want us to know that it wasn't our fault.
And next we've got Rebecca Curry, our host tonight. Let's give it up for Rebecca Curry.
I'm a poet, but also a translator, and so happens that some September is National Translation Month. So I have a piece here, translated from a poem by the German writer Rainer Maria Rilke, and the original title is Herbsttag, which translates to autumn day. Lord, it is time. The summer was so vast. On the sundials let your shadow, and in the meadows let the wind move past. Command the last fruits to swell on the vine. Grant them still 2 more southern days to thrive. Press them to ripe fulfillment there, and drive their final sweetness to heavy wine. The one who has no house now will build none. The one who is alone now will be so. Will wake, read, write long letters, and will go and wander restlessly till day is done along the avenues with dry leaves blow.
Next up is Gabe Moore.
Preemptively raise it, and I figured it would be. This came about after the storm a few weeks ago. and I saw something, so I wrote it down, and then the rest of it just kind of poured out the next couple of days. I kind of like how that happens from time to time. It's called My Song. Fallen limbs like wind took trees that once stood with distinction, reducing former views to a memory. Lazy melodies of amber waves had soared once above, somberly lay with the ash, the only remnant. The fire burned, it raged against an impassioned spirit, a spirit filled with promise far from fear. Blazing onward path defined, a new tune rose from streaks of orange and black, its script resolutely sublime. I ponder how seamlessly the wind carried her on, with it gone, my song.
And our last poet and reader tonight is Brenda White. Brenda White. Let's give it up for Brenda White.
This first piece is called After the Service. It's still a work in progress, but I'll read what it is. He never bothered to tell us she passed and was buried in the country cemetery, watched over by God, mockingbirds, meadowlarks, prairie wind to lull her sleep. We found out at another funeral. Serviced in, we drifted to family stones, lichen covered, marble veined as varicose, stark as a knife blade. History and memory numbed us to the cold. Goodbye is a hollow word when unanswered, but we huddled by the most recent stone, wept together with 20-year-old grief, the only goodbye we could muster. Wind whipping around us mourned as well. He approached to speak, face bright with greeting, and stumbled into our heartbreak, which widened his eyes, closed his lips. Then he jerked his arm to the south. "She's buried over there," and turned to leave. Tears still coating our eyelashes, we smiled at each other and ambled south. Okay, this one's called Half Baked. Are we done yet, Sylvia? A timer bzzz, and no one to turn it off? Too bad my stove is electric. Hot air without fumes save fried hair and my smile melting at 400 degrees. I could write, I was here, in blots of fruit pies past. We both know life is not a gas. Sometimes a place to rest one's head is easy as opening an oven door. My old bean is heavy as pot roast. Given time, could we rise like bread dough or cinnamon rolls? I'm flat as a souffle in a poker contest. Who will test us with a toothpick? We're raw in the middle, Sylvia, no matter how we're sliced. Overbeaten to stiff peaks, the texture of mud pies, yet burned on the outside to a fine golden crust. This one's called The Bread of Life. It started from a conversation about people who think they see holy images in toast and grilled cheese sandwiches. And while we were talking about that, a thing showed up on Facebook that was mac and cheeses. So, holy macaroni, Batman. And this is called The Bread of Life. The toaster pops up Christ's visage, scorched golden into bread. This is my body, he said once, and requested ritual remembrance. Now he appears on toast or grilled cheese sandwiches, sells on eBay to the faithful. He is still the bread of life, thank God. Miracles must arrive abbreviated like text messages and emoticons. Jesus on a pancake, his eyes heavenward. Love ye one another, his browned face pleads. Take this toasted bread, eat of it. No one can scroll past a pancake. But will his missive stick? Will we remember to do unto others as we would have done unto ourselves? Or will we toss Jesus butter side down and walk away?
Well, thank you all for coming out for an hour of poetry. Stick around and say hello to your fellow poets and writers, and keep the poetry and writing in your life.
Is there a poetry program in Red Rocks?
There is a poetry program at Red Rocks. It's the 22nd. September 22nd, which is a Sunday at 2 p.m. at Red Rocks, which is the William Allen White House right across from the William Allen White School in this town. Poet Huascar Medina, who is the current Poet Laureate of Kansas, will be reading as the featured reader, and there's an open mic after that as well. So come see Huascar and share your work again. It's free and fun. See you then.